Greetings and welcome to yet another episode of 1320 Time Stream. Lo and behold, look at that. We are on the 13th day of this wave spell. This particular wave spell being the wave spell of the Red Earth wave spell. In our body, today is going to be our 13th joint, or the left ankle. So we started 13 days ago on the right ankle and went through our joints in the body in order of the right ankle, right knee, right hip, right wrist, right elbow, right shoulder, neck and spine, the left shoulder, the left elbow, the left wrist, the left hip, the left knee, and the left ankle. And so now we're on that left ankle energy in the cosmic tone of our wave spell, having started at the magnetic and now coming to the cosmic. So, very nice. Let's just get into a little description here. Boom, a little imprint for you there. You can really just take that in. And let's jump quickly to our mini breath for the day. Get the energies here flowing. So we're going to be in the left cosmic ankle here, and that's our cosmic tone. And then we're going to go over to the right foot, and we're going to go to the baby toe on the right foot. That's your moon toe. Right foot, moon toe, left ankle, cosmic ankle. Breathe in these two. Begin when you're ready. Breathing in that left ankle, in that right baby toe. Just exciting those filaments. There we go. A little bit of an intro. So we're getting into the cosmic part of it. The cosmic, the first thing that comes up for me is the totem animal to the cosmic moon is the turtle. And represents kind of like the lasting energy. It's like slow but steady. It's gonna get there. I feel very deeply it also represents heart medicine for many reasons. And even outside of just the heart medicine reasons, I feel part of the heart medicine analogies connect to another analogy of the turtle, which is the earth, and how it's like Turtle Island, Kaya Island. And so what we have here is this energy that is representing the very mother frequency that we are being sustained and nurtured by. And that frequency has this energy of lasting. It has this energy of like, it's going to get there, and it takes everything that's important with it. For me, the turtle is not a karmic creature. It's not, racing back and forth, forgetting things in places. It is a simple creature that takes everything that's important with it. It has everything that it needs on at all times. And this is why I say it's a heart medicine totem, because the idea that the turtle has its home on its back is very accurate. And then if we go into that phrase, we say home is where the heart is, and we can say that the home that's coming with it is its heart, is that center of everything, that heart space. And in that way, by always having that with you and moving in the world and in yourself in a slow way, we're not going to miss a beat around sustaining our connection with that home. And this brings me to a terminology I call heart ping. I actually should have been sharing this with a lot of people in the last number of years. And heart ping is a term that is very similar, if anyone is familiar with kind of how the internet works. And say you're playing a game or on a site or listening to music or whatever, there's a thing called ping. And ping is like, I don't know the exact words, the server or the host or whatever, but one of them is the pinging into the other. It's checking as kind of like the speed. And then I believe you have a thing called latency, and latency is kind of like the time it takes or the distance of the bandwidth from sending the signal. And so heart ping is very much the same and represents kind of our heart's karma. And now when I say karma, a lot of people, I think, have a very skewed idea of what karma is, this idea of good and bad karma. I would say there's no such thing. There's no such thing as good and bad karma. That's like punishment oriented mentality. Like, oh, you have karma, you're gonna get whooped for that or whatever. And it's like, yeah, no, that's more just like an investment in consequences. At least how I would see it. You're definitely invited to see things the way you are. You don't have to see things the way I see it, but I'm gonna share things the way I see it here. In that respect, what I see karma as is simply an unfinished cycle. Karma, the wheel of karma, is a movement of the wheel. Now, whenever you set something in motion, that motion has a beginning and an end because it had an origin. And so whenever an energy begins to move, let's just take a look at like a ball or something. You throw that ball up in the air, it's naturally going to come back down. You know what I mean? If you, go to work, you're going to come back. If you go to sleep, you're going to wake up. If you, pee and empty your bladder, it's going to get filled again. And vice versa. Day, night, rotation of the world, the wheel of karma, which is also closely associated to the wheel of time. And so for me, karma becomes energy in motion that has not yet reached the completeness of its cycle. Right? So I feel this is where the idea of good and bad karma is. It's like, oh, you set something in motion, but it's not that, oh, you did something bad's going to happen to you. For me, it's because something has been set in motion, it's going to be an energetic, spiritual weight on you until you finish it. And so there's always going to be an influential nature of the energy that has been set in motion until it reaches home again. And so this, brings in the idea of ancestral karma and past life karma, all these things, which just represents that somehow you are connected to a motion of energy that has not reached completion, and therefore it is still influencing you, and depending on the gravity of the situation, you are still bound to it. So, this is a little bit more of a description. I find it's very realistic because it's not so steeped in like mysticism. It's like, oh, you did something unfavorable to me or someone, I don't like that. And so you're going to get punished. And the reason I don't like this kind of phenomenology is because I feel that view of karma or the view of right or wrong really comes from people's wounds. It comes from how they were shamed or they were wronged or they were brought out of their hearts. They were made to think certain things weren't okay. And while certain things aren't necessarily okay, when we feel into, why a person is where they are or why it's useful for you to be sharing that experience right now, then we have an entirely different thing outside of the systems of wronging, where it's not just like, you're like, oh, I think you're wrong, so I think you should suffer for that. It's like, okay, like, why am I participating? Why is this energy brought to my attention? What role do I have in this cycle that is brought to my attention? And so then we can begin taking a co-creative responsibility for the motions of energy that we are woven into within the collective life that we're sharing here on Earth. And so, yeah, I feel we're, growing up as far as how we're sharing energy, how we're becoming aware of energy, and then how we're taking responsibility for the effect that we're having as becoming energetically aware beings. So heart ping specifically has to do with being in your heart. And there's a lot of different conjectures about what that means as well. A lot of people could think it's a very glowy feeling or being happy, kind of this, that, and the other. And sure, those are all connections to your heart. Those are all energies that are associated to your heart. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say being in the heart is this, all bright, rainbow, sugary feeling of kind of being high on the love. that is a very special moment, which personally I do what I can to sustain almost outright. But the need for it to be ultimately a positive experience begins to bridge into hunger and need. And so that begins to bridge into you creating a separation agreement, which then will take you away from your heart. It will take you away from that very experience. And that's just the short shell of it. So where I go with heart is a general frequency field, which the thing we just spoke about, that very beautiful, sweet rainbow heart energy is a big part of. But all the other emotions are part of that too. Anger finds its way in there. We have sadness. We have all these energies at the peripheral of the field that have their roots in our sense of love, right? And so and so to explain heart ping a little, heart ping is a recognition of when you're in the center of your heart. You're in a balanced expression. We're not wronging each other. We're feeling like our boundaries are in a good space. We feel sustained. We feel nurtured. Perhaps this can be coupled with happiness or a deep feeling of well-being. I feel it's more associated with a feeling of well-being than necessarily happiness. Because there's a side note, is because you can be deeply in your heart and be feeling a range of emotions that are actually contradictory to happiness. And you're having a very, very healthy heart experience. And so being in your heart is not exemplified by just being happy. Being happy is a mood. It is a type of light that kind of goes through that circuitry, but there's a whole rainbow of colors, and that may only be one of those colors. So you'll have to kind of translate what I'm saying, because this is very different for everyone, and how these energies, and you show up for those energies, right? And how you want to embody this path. So the definition of heart is not a description that I'm giving you. It is something that you already innately and inherently know. And part of the heart's magic is to trust that. And so if there's anything that I would say is almost absolutely heart is a feeling of allowing and trusting and surrendering. There's an inner knowing there that bypasses the mind. It's not a mental quality of awareness. And it is steeped in an emotional quality of awareness, but it also bypasses the direct emotional quality and goes deeper, because it influences the heart, the mind, and all the other capacities of the sensory bodily system. And so it is there for you in its own unique way. Now, when you are in your heart, things happen or tend to happen very smoothly. Even if there's conflicts, there's easy ways to work them out. There's easy ways to bring ourselves to communication, easy ways to bring ourselves to non-confrontation, non-struggle, things of this nature. And things can happen easier. When other beings and when plants, animals are around this heart space, they are aligned with the situation. There's no like jags and breaks and challenges and kind of like glitches in the energy field that are being kind of held there by the inability to allow the energy to flow. Another way I would describe heart is a no-thingness, where the energy is allowed to be as it is. There's no need to force things to be outside of themselves. You are just allowing the energy. And the sentience of creation, which is a heart-based energy, can sustain all of what we're connected to through us by allowing it to speak through us. And so, and then when the other energies get in there that are more hung up on things, our life can begin to reflect that kind of an energy where things around ourselves seem to be stagnant or hung up, or people are misbehaving, or whatever it may be. And so as the heart frequency is there, even if remnants of these energies, now this is where karma would come in, even if there are cycles that are unfinished and you have to witness things without reacting, or witness and participate in a thing where you don't lose your center, then that's also being in the heart space, where you're just like, oh, okay, I can allow this very, say, unfavorable thing to occur, right? Or I can, check into my boundaries and allow a thing to be spoken about, allow a boundary to be put up so that a safety can happen, or an energy thing that needs to be there personal boundaries, collective boundaries, and I don't necessarily lose my cool. I don't necessarily lose connection to my heart field, my heart center. And so things around that which become very beneficial is like if you're putting up a boundary in a heart center, you still get everything that you would get if you were forceful, but you're also not really causing wounds to another. Because I feel boundaries and things like that can be steeped in personal protection, but at the expense of another's well-being, because it can come in a very sharp way, and there's an inconsiderateness around any other beings that are potentially participating in the erection of a boundary or a boundary field, because the relationship to one's personal boundaries can potentially be highly related to one's own state of personal growth. And one can only really assume or project, even though we can sometimes feel very directly where another is, it may not be like this for us later, and we may see that that other being didn't mean what you believed they meant, and therefore being overbearing or whatnot, if you're triggered or if you have a wound and your way of dealing with that is a boundary, if you're overbearing, you can now create this wound in someone else. And the cycle continues of wounding. And that's what we're dissolving here at this portion of our global life, that we're really working as the feminine energy is really on top of things, is really like blooming currently. That is a lot of her song, is about how to sustain that heart presence in such a way that it is like the internally bioorganically available sustainable permacultural energy systems that are within us, which represent that very statement of flow externally to us in the way that the biosphere actually works. Being in a heart center in the biospheric relationship would kind of represent how all of the different ecosystems are working in harmony with each other, and you don't see the signs of conflict within them. It's very similar, kind of microcosm, macrocosm. So heart ping, working up to that, heart ping is kind of like the time it takes or the experience of being separate from your heart. That there's like a latency or a sense of separation where for all intents and purposes, it seems like you have stepped out of or you have been brought away from your heart. Like maybe you're in a good place, however you want to see that, and all of a sudden for the next couple of days, whatever it is, you've been brought away from that. And maybe you're not in such a good place. Maybe you're really not feeling that heart in the way that it shows up for you. Now, eventually, it's going to come back. That is an inevitable and trustable frequency in this existence, is that you will, regardless of what you believe, return to heart. Because how would I put this? There's many ways to see this, but at one of the levels, it's a wave pattern. And so that wave pattern, if you take a look like a sine wave, kind of rounded like up and down and up and down, there's going to be a relay of going away from, coming back to, going away from, coming back to. These are natural cycles. So this heart energy that you have experienced at one time or another in your life, you will in fact return there, and there's no need to worry about not. Now the reason I say this, for a number of reasons, but I'm going to go directly into heart ping. That is heart ping. Heart ping is, for lack of a better term, because I don't necessarily like describing time as an objective phenomenology or the amount of time, because it's not really a thing you can have an amount of, because that's a spatial quantification of an abstract frame of reference. But for the description, we would say from the time when you're in your heart to the time that you're back in your heart, there is a series of energies and events that take place between those 2 points. And that the time it takes, you could say, is that ping. It's like, oh, it took me 6 days to get back to that heart center that I know and trust. And when I say I'm in my heart. And so karma, the turtle energy, the cosmic tone all play into this in a very big way. And it's for this reason. The speed of life lived. If we're living in a way where we are moving too fast. Mentally, emotionally, physically, our life begins to reflect this because we are brought out of our center. And if we allow ourselves to come out of our center, and it will happen, there's no fighting this, we will recognize eventually that, oh, wait a minute, I'm out of my center. This doesn't feel good. What's going on? And then we attempt to make our way back home somehow, where we do feel the well-being, where we do feel good. And so the heart ping energy here, the speed of life lived, is like, are we moving at such a pace in life where we're missing the subtle cues? Oh, that was a grain of feeling like you compromised your heart space. Just a grain, but not so much as it would actually really fully take you out of it. But as you go through the days or whatever, you have all these little grains or threads or, pieces of straw or whatever, or even a big chunky event that will eventually desynchronize you from that heart space. And the heart ping is that the latency, the distance between when you're in that space and what it takes to dissolve all of the things that brought separation into your heart, separation from your heart. What it takes to dissolve those and return to that sustainable vibrational pace. Now, what the turtle teaches us is to slow down. Keep your heart magic with you. If there's something in life that you're starting to see, it doesn't matter what it is. There is nothing that is more important than sustaining who you are. We have been taught in life to put energy outside of ourselves, give it to others, disempower ourselves, let others lead us, let others guide, manipulate, and control our power through our value systems, through our needs. The one thing I would encourage you to explore is that the most important possible thing for you is to stay aligned with who you are. And the center of that who you are-ness is your heart, because that's where the trust is. That's where the surrender onto the miracle, onto the magic of your creationalism, of your self-becoming, of your miraculous phoenix transformation is. It's nested there. And so you can't be experiencing your own miracle if your power is outside of yourself, if you're misaligned from your heart, if you've given it away to someone, or if you're moving yourself or influencing yourself with the value systems of other people, which are not aligned with the harmony in one's own being that is supported by your own value systems. Now, where the turtle goes with this is, as we slow down, we don't just one day realize, oh, damn, I've really compromised my heart space. All of a sudden, I'm in a situation where my needs and my goals surpass my ability to check in with where I am or what's important to me. And in this last series of actions, I deeply compromised myself. Now I'm in a place where I've arrived, wherever I've arrived at, and I realize that my home isn't with me. My magical heart shell is somewhere on the road over there. The last time I was really feeling connected to that energy. And so you're going to have to find your way out of that place. Somehow you're going to have to go back to that road and you're going to have to pick up that home. That's the inevitable work you're going to have to do if you're going to sustain this heart frequency. So the turtle says, slow down. Connect with that heart frequency. Connect with that thing that's important to you in there. This isn't about your goals. This isn't about you feeling disconnected or in lack or you needing to go and accomplish something. This isn't about that. The heart space supports those things in a healthy way. But in this point, we're not talking about what you want or what you want to achieve. That's kind of meaningless in this conversation. What we are talking about is a sustainable groundwork frequency, which you could call your center. What is that? Because as you find that, as you truly not just know what it is with your mind as like a system of elements, oh, this is a good space for me, I like it when this occurs, kind of like events that help you feel like that, you can there's like an exactitude, an alignment, an awareness, an inner soul awareness that doesn't just manifest it through the pressure of your own existential infinitude aligns that magic within you. It just glows, it radiates from inside your being. You can take that with you wherever you go. It's a simple magic that may sound like some vast accomplishment of enlightenment, but I assure you, it is not that. The things that are spoken of about here are highly and easily accomplishable, but we need to be able to trim our own personal hedge, so to speak. We need to be able to embrace that turtle medicine and slow down. Allow ourselves to not be influenced so much by the complications, the stresses, and whatnot. We create that space. Now, this is another turtle medicine. The turtle can hide in its shell. Take that space for yourself. Learn how to communicate to other people in your life to respect your boundaries, to respect your space. The reason for this is so you always have a temple to enter, to charge yourself up in that well-being energy. Every single person in the world, regardless of who you are, regardless of what religion you're participating in, regardless of your situation in the world, has to find a way to claim that power for themselves. The power to create a sustainable environment which allows them to cultivate the love that is natural to their existence. This is key in our growth. And so once you have that, and this may not all happen at one time. Everything that's being talked about here can very well be a life journey. We're in this greater fourth dimensional heart evolution currently, and so be easy on yourself. That's another part of the heart medicine. Be forgiving with yourself. Don't be angry with yourself, but don't hide away from the frustrations. Allow the things, but forgive yourself for the abrasive energy that happened inside. Forgive yourself for the judgments that may arise. Right? Allowing yourself to be yourself can be scary work because there's very contradicting elements. But your heart is leading you to the truth. And if you trust your heart, it will not let you down. And so that turtle is saying, slow down. Slow down so you don't miss a beat. Slow down so you can make sure that all of you gets there. You are complete now. As you journey, you're journeying in completion, and as you arrive whole and complete. And in this way, you're absolving and dissolving and deleting and not participating in any karma that could arise because you're not setting cycles in motion that have to do with the heart. You're reducing the heart ping, the time it takes for you to be in your heart and leave your heart. And so the more we go through life with this wisdom, this is the turtle wisdom, the less we have to mitigate the damage that we have to embrace because of our own too quickness, our own misstepping, our own giving our power away, all those things. I could literally talk forever about all the different nuances of how to embrace the heart in its fullness as an individual art of embodiment for each individual, because it's different. We all have our own different heart language, our own different way where our heart shows up for us. So on that note, that's just kind of like the brief description of the energy of the cosmic tone, represented by the turtle energy. Let's just continue on with the cosmic tone, which is endure, transcend, and presence. Based upon that energy, that taking it slow energy, I feel it's a good time to move into, what endurance really is. And endurance, I feel, is that energy that really allows us to find ourselves in the center of what becomes that heart pain. And it's like, it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter what you're doing. There's always a chance to just tag back into your heart or whatever it is. And also I want to just slightly, as I'm explaining, move out, because the cosmic tone and those words can represent a whole lot of things. And the cosmic tone, the turtle energy, also represents being able to last while the quest is occurring. And this is also complementary to the heart medicine. It's also like the journey medicine, like the turtle having that journey across the sea, which is part of some of the sea turtle cycles. It is a long and potentially perilous journey. So there's endurance that has to occur. There is a lasting. these kind of journeys that we find the level of endurance on are things that we simply can't just give up and turn back. It's not on easy mode. It's not like in the middle of a, 800-kilometer hike, can we just go, oh, I'm just going to go back. I don't feel like it anymore. Sorry, you really don't have that option. The only option you really have is just to lay down and die. Here, there's no escaping. And so the thing I like about stuff like that is that's when all the shit comes up. In our psyche, in our heart, we're in the middle of those things that are forcing us out of our comfort bubble, and we have to endure. Very much like a deep ayahuasca journey or a peyote journey or any of these medicines which take us to places where our kind of like mentality or the ego, we could say, this idea that we believe ourselves to be, which not maybe fully aligned with who we are, that begins to whittle away. And we're left with our doubts. We're left with the things that are hurting us. We're left with those things that some of these mental fabrications and emotional fabrications attempted to cover up because we didn't want to face them. And so as we do, we tend to, if we allow ourselves to and are guided by our hearts, come to realize what are the things we actually really want to be doing in our lives. And we can simplify and be like, okay, I actually really only want to be doing this. It's true, I've let myself be treated poorly, and it's like the energy of sustainability comes in because it's very simple. The heart is a simple creature. We are simple creatures. Breathe and witness this. The mind is a complex organism that could sometimes confuse the simplicity, and especially where our needs are concerned. We have needs of others. It's easy to compromise ourselves in a hope to share something or to have something received that we may not know that we are there to cultivate that for ourselves. And the more we show up in that heart's frequency, the more we endure and allow the blueprint of our integrity, our own blueprint of like, this is the energy that's really me for me. And we don't just jump on getting a thing from someone else because, I just really want to connect in this way. Well, we compromise like that. If you wait and if you're patient, you will get exactly what you need because you're allowing that resonance to really saturate the collective field. And so you're going to align exactly the way you need to. And so that's another part of this endurance, that lasting energy. In this way, it brings about the transcendence energy. Endure, transcend, presence. And so this transcendence is like, as the endurance occurs, as the lasting, almost like a great statue or a mountain, allowing all the weather to just hit it like a monk or whatever, sitting at the top of Machu Picchu, just getting hit by all of the weather front. And so there's a certain place that in this little, imaginal monk scene we're having here, there's a place this being has reached where the phenomenal world just passes over through this being. Is it easy necessarily? We don't know. That's a personal journey. Maybe it's easy. Maybe it's tremendously difficult. But that's not what it's about. It's not about those positive or negatives. It's not about that binary. What it is about is the endurance, because that transforms into transcendence, where we overcome all that which we had to endure, all that which could have been the capacity to bring us into bondage if we ran away from where we know the frequency of heart is leading us, if we ran away from our truth, from where we know we are supposed to be, that thing in ourselves that we trust, if we give up. And I feel there's a difference between give up and surrender, where surrender is a conscious letting go and the allowance to let certain energies guide us, while the kind of giving up energy, even though it can be, modeled to make the same kind of analogy, the giving up energy is like giving up on yourself. It's like not doing your best. It's like surrendering or letting go in such a way that you allow negative influences, you allow your integrity to be sullied, you allow your boundaries to be breached, and you become a puppet for those energies which don't have your well-being in mind and in heart, right? And can become kind of possessed by those frequencies that don't want you to succeed. And so when I refer to surrender, we're referring to the letting go and surrendering to the processes, putting down the weapons, letting go of the heavy things, taking off the armor, and just allowing the natural energies to flow, to trust. And this is a big one. Even if you're like, oh, I don't even know anymore, I just can't fight, just don't. Even if it's not guided by like, oh, I know this is going to get me somewhere, just let go, because chances are, pretty much certainly, the natural love that is guiding you is just going to take a moment to come from that kind of dead body, that shed skin of the heavier energies that just don't want to be up and being forced to be up. They want to be let go. You're a light being. You're made of light. Things can be easy. Presence. Endure, transcend, and presence. And so it's like the endurance process, we've gone into big definition there, brings us to that transcendence. Now I find this in itself has a ping. It's like a wavelength. It's like, oh, did you transcend? Okay, I'm this floating monk who's all transcended now. I don't think that's a really realistic version, and I feel the mind can really indulge in certain unrealistic idealisms. And if we come into nature, we see that a moment of transcendence is like a moment of overcoming or a moment of breaking through. But this may yield to another moment where one is bound by something. And so the cycle of transcendence is an ever reoccurring phenomenon based upon all the different little spectacles of energy which become an exemplified active location of this process or experience of transcendence. And that in this respect is in deep relation to the endurance. What are we lasting? One transcendence, another transcendence. Maybe there is an ultimate transcendence, but I'm not ultimately sure there is. Presence. And so this is ushering in something, and I believe this is deeply formative to the turtle medicine and wellness, simply being present. Be present. Show up for what is. Right? The mind can take us to other places, but the fact of the matter is you're here now. Show up in the here and now. Being present. Right? It's like as you endure, the transcendence occurs. And so be present for this process to become transcendence. And even after any form of transcendence actually occurs, continue being present. Continue to be aware. Because that's where the whole heart ping magic sustains itself. If you're like, oh my God, I broke through, then all of a sudden you're like helter-skelter and all over the place again, like a flailing child in life, then you're going to find yourself in bondage all over again. And any endurance or work you did to free yourself, you're going to have to do all over again. And so the sustainable energy of what we're speaking about is presence. Being present. Witnessing as the situations shift on the inside and the outside. Continue asking, not necessarily with question, but with checking into the field. Oh, can I show up here? Can I upload my data here? Can I come into this field and vibrate and resonate at a level which is good for me? Right? And the more that we're present, maybe it's different for you. The more that we're present with that me that needs to be in the space of transcendence. What does transcendence look like for you? In relationship to the heart energy that we've been talking about. For me, and kind of a base description that I'm giving, is it's like being in that sustainable heart frequency. It's having a low, maybe zero latency on your heart ping, so that you're shortening the journey that it takes be in your heart to leave your heart and come back to your heart. And I feel that one of the main factors around that is simply trust. And what I mean by that is it's like you're in your heart and you find yourself in a place where you get angry or any number of things happens and you're not really in your heart. Some people could experience fear. Oh no, oh no, experience that feeling of loss. Oh no, will I ever get back? It's like the trust energy is, oh no, this is just another ride. I'm just going to go along for the ride. And this is where that surrender comes back. Oh, I'm just going to surrender. I'm not going to fight it. It's just going to happen whether I want it to or not. I'm here. And therefore you're present with it. Whatever that is, you're just going along for the ride. You know who you are. You have well-defined boundaries. You know that you're an existence of this heart magnitude. And so how can you not get back there? And because of that energy, because of your belief and your trust in that energy, that journey that you go on by being present, you're like coding it and aligning it and synchronizing it with all that heart source, with all that heart energy that you have and are connected to. And even in the greatest of hell realms or war zones, you can actually allow yourself to just exude that heart frequency to the level that you are connected to it. And that will heal, that will recode so much of those conflicting situations. And I find as like a healer, as an energy worker in this way, as a being who helps people really undergo the process of dissolving traumas and deep wounds from the past, or our sense of separation from our hearts, that when we come into a cycle, especially when we're like, whoa, I really have it now. I have a new level of my heart. This is part of my capacity. I really love what I'm experiencing and witnessing. Then the universe is going to be like, okay, you're ready. You're ready not only to help yourself, you're ready to help others, because we are always consciously and unconsciously being recruited as servants to this larger growth and this larger evolution. And so we may be brought into situations that will challenge the sustainability of our heart, and not just to see like if we're ready. It's not always just a personal thing. There is, of course, always a personal element, but in our expanding collective consciousness, it's essentially not really just about ourselves. It's about how can we take responsibility for sustaining that vibration in the field throughout all of the myriad of ways that the field's expression of reality can change. And what that also allows you to do is, as you go into those places inside of yourself that may be void of love, you may have a space externally or internally that's like, oh yeah, this is my love space. And then all of a sudden, you're brought to a space where a horrendous trauma had existed for you in life. And all of a sudden you're back in the trauma space as though the trauma is happening to you again. Well, you just let love go, right? Now there's no wrong here or there, but there's a recognition that that love is not permeating that space. It's kind of a little bit of a black hole. As we are present with the love that we do have, that love can be guided into those spaces. It can be guided into those traumas, and those traumas heal. Those black holes fill. That effervescent light, that crystal vibration, mends, repairs, and fills those vibrational expanses, those vibrational wounds, those vibrational traumas. And so the universe will bring us to the situations that are required for us to bring that heart energy into. And even if in some way we fail, because the reason I say fail is because some people in the world still have a real pass or fail mentality. I don't feel that there's no such thing as passing or failing. It's more just like this beautiful series of cycles that we're continuing to show up as. And it's whittling away this warrior mentality where we feel we have to fight to claim something. And the more we realize that this is a sentient organism and we're part of a great and expansive journey, then we can just go, oh, okay, cool. Just like, when it's my time to really show up, help me realize what that is so I can take the best responsibility, so I can show up, so I can offer myself in a good way, and I can participate to the fullness of my ability while taking responsibility for my needs, making sure that I have the rest and the love for my body, making sure I have the food, the environment, and making sure that the things that nurture me and the things that I love are focused on and taken care of. Because that's where your ability to love others and have those larger reciprocal exchanges of energy come from, is your ability to sustain your own fulfillment, your own fullness, which is essentially living from the centralness of your heart. And there are many different ways that each one of us nurtures ourselves to be able to continue sustaining that heartfulness. And so that I feel speaks a lot to the presence energy. Enduring, transcending, and staying present with it. Let's stay present with that trust that we know we will always return to that heart. And let us continue being present and endure all the samsara, all the motion of karma, as we are brought to witness all the different sides and shapes and capacities of our heart. Though we may believe we know love or we know what heart is, it has a vast, incalculable, infinite, and eternal number of expressions. And the more you trust and the more your capacity of heart is available to you, the more you will be able to navigate the entire gamut, the entire field of the heart's integrity as a trusted and revered traveler of that realm and an embodier of that eternity, a truly lasting frequency. So, this brings me to the moon energy of the day. Oh, I love the moon. The moon, which is kind of the opposite of the storm, is represented by the still waters. It is the pale light in the night sky, not unlike the star. I find that the star and the moon have a very intrinsic relationship. And the star is that bright light that shines in the darkness in the sky. It's our artist, it's our elegance. Now the moon, I find, has a number of coexisting factors with it, and it feels very appropriate that is the next in the sequence, because as we're moving through these energies, energies aren't just going like, oh, it's like this and now it's like this. It's like, yes, there are swift changes, but each energy has its roots in the other because we're constantly flowing. So we're constantly transforming. So the really cut and cropped energies, like almost, cutting a picture point out of a photo to make it look like it's not connected to the rest of reality, that's not really how these flows of energies work. Every single thing is connected. So one nuance of one thing as a defined capacity will be present in the other in some level of its expression. And so as far as the star and moon go, the star and the moon are both bodies within the sky. And the moon also emits a light, but in this reflection, it is a pale light. It's more delicate. Both of them are a reflection of the sun. And what I mean by the star's reflection of the sun is it essentially is not the sun proper. In response to us giving a description of like the Mayan sign, the sun, or Ahau, which represents that universal fire. In this case, the star is a sun of a distant galaxy. And so in this way, it is also a reflection of the sun. It doesn't represent the sun's proper energies. It represents the magic of light within that field of potential. And so too does the moon. But it is not shining forth so bright. There's a paler light. And so it invites us into a delicateness. It invites us into a feminineness. It invites us into a stillness, a sensitiveness. The moon invites us into a depth. It invites us into a lake or an ocean. To find the resounding energy in you, to trust in the cycles. Having the cosmic moon here, I find, is deeply profound because the moon cycle is a 28-day cycle. And the turtle energy is utilized to calculate the 28-day cycles in the dream spell system. So we have what's known as the 1328. And so the moon cycle and the turtle kind of walk hand in hand in many of these systems. As well as on the back of the turtle is a very special totem when it comes to the 1320 system, which is what we're talking about right now. The 1320, you could say that today is actually 1309. We'll get into numbers later. That the turtle has 20 smaller scales around the edge of its shell and 13 in the middle. And so it's actually 2013 or 1320. In fact, we could calculate the entire Zulkin, which is, I'll just give you a quick whip over to it, which is this thing right here, which is the 260 unit fourth dimensional timing synchronometer or battery on its body, just like we can in our body with the fingers, toes, and joints. And so this is another one of those things. Now this is when we come back to the moon, that's a bit of a moon channel because the moon is saying, hey, look at these cycles. look at these patterns. And the cosmic energy is saying, hey, check out these cosmic cycles, check out these like, right, hyperdimensional patterns in nature. Look how what looks like you have to study to learn, like some advanced system of mathematics and meditation. Oh, if it's such an advanced system of mathematics and meditation, so advanced that we may think it's more difficult to learn than, the Gregorian calendar or those timing systems, the things that we were raised in school, then why is it etched in our body? Why is it on the backs of turtles? Right? Why is there 33 vertebrae in the human spine, 13 plus 20? Right? Why do dolphins and sharks have 13 rows of 20 teeth? Right? Why are the natural algorithms being represented in a system of this nature more readily present in nature than anything we're participating in currently with the systems of value that we have been taught to invest in? That's a very good question for anyone who would say, oh, this system is too complex for me. I would return and say, oh, is life just simply too complex for you? That you'd rather cultivate a fabrication which actually takes you away from life? Or which hurts the world through your cultivation? Maybe it works for you, right? Maybe your time is money phenomenon or schedule, maybe you've been trained to make it work for you because of the enhanced individualism and the objectification that's part of that system. But as a collective, as a biospherically regenerating sustainability, it simply doesn't work. And it is destroying the planet outright. And whether or not you want to see that doesn't really matter. That opinion has no value because in the end, you're participating in the destruction of the very thing that is sustaining us. And so these cycles allow us for an opportunity to connect to that nature on a deeper level. We find that nature in our bodies. We find our cycle with the natural cycles that exist. And we can still have, in fact, not still have, we would increase the quality of our individual and personal life by a magnitude of fold that I could never express. And we would begin to be, if not creating further sustainability, with the harmony of our biological constant, our biosphere, our Mother Earth. Now that's turtle medicine. And so I endure in order to purify. Purify. Universal water, flow. Now I feel like the grace of the star, elegance was the energy in there. To me, elegance and flow are similar, which is another reason why I say the star and the moon are very similar frequencies, because the star yields to the moon, and the non-chunkiness, the elegance coming from a beauty. With beauty there is grace. Beauty and grace go together because beauty is a hyper alignment of ease. There's something exalted about it. It is a representation that is free of struggle. Even for those who, have studied great wars or have respect for Tai Chi masters or great warriors, one of the art of war, or the art of looking at a great battle, right? You can see a deep level of effortlessness and ease in a battle fought with almost no hinges. Now, I say this to connect to the people that may really be in a more warrior framework, because there can be value in that, to be witnessing reality in this fundamentalism. Though that will dissolve. That is a phase and a stage of growth that yields to a more delicate nature, to a more nurturing nature. And so this is where I feel, as we take like the Tai Chi master and we take that energy of elegance and flow, that is what's actually important. That's the energy that's going to get imported into our next little vision sequence of imagining what are these energies. So from the Tai Chi master, who through the warring times has exemplified themselves by being this kind of monk who can protect themselves and nurture others while being in a landscape that's full of conflict. But because of their own dedication, their own endurance, they want to be a part of a path of nonviolence. And so they begin transforming their inner landscape. And I find this is a really good dialectic towards the definitions of the cosmic moon. This is the that endure energy. But it also goes purify. I endure in order to purify. We're wanting to purify this energy. So purify, universal water, and flow. We're talking about the flow right now. And that flow, like the elegance, is the allowing, right? And so very much today, as we're enduring, as we're being present, right, as we're transcending, there's a flow to that, right? And there's a flow to that in life too, just generally. All these tones, like we're a natural frequency. As we become in harmony with this, we may not need to be like, oh, like I need to really follow the system, follow the calendar. It is useful. I've been doing it for over 20 years. I may never stop, right? But what I also see, because this is the programming partner, you could say, to reality at large, is that as we find ourselves saturated with the healthy imprints, the natural bioorganic 1320 related imprints, then we're naturally going to synchronize with this. And we don't necessarily need to be tracking time because time is going to naturally run through us. And so that's really what this is all about, is reconnecting ourselves with the sustainable harmony within the biospheric constant. Right? So universal water as well. Universal water, I find, is the direct opposite of that universal fire. And it's like that yin watery element in all things, like your inner flow, your inner water. The universal fire is like that universal or ultimate form of heat or force kind of energy, while the universal water is just that as well. It's like the depth, the universal depth, the universal flow, the energy within you that is that water. It is the quality of water that is within you. And so I find like those are the two most absolute expressions I feel in the Mayan calendar or the dream spell, is the universal yin and yang. It is like the absolute and ultimate expression of this binary, of this polarity, as these two sustaining factors to this etheric kind of time dimension thing, representing the element as a quality and as a force simultaneously. It is not just the quality of a thing, it is also the force of a thing. Though a lot of the time, and what I mean by that is like the force of fire or the force of water. Well, put your hand in it and you'll see what I mean. Fire will burn you. It'll be hot. And water will be wet. And so those are the force, the force of elements. And so the quality is like the quality in a being. Oh, that's a very fiery person. Or, that I've had a very watery day today. Right? And so that's that universal water energy. And I find it tags right into the flow, that elegance. And the water moves through and it purifies, it washes. And so today is a day to last as we allow the purification to take hold. I believe that will sum up the wave spell part of this episode of 1320 Time Stream. And just as kind of, a final adieu to this wave spell, wow, what a journey. What a beautiful journey. This not only ends this part of our wave spell journey here for today, it also ends it for this 13-day cycle. So I just want to say congratulations. You've made it through a wave spell. Congratulations. This is some of the motion of natural time. In participating in this way, we're together riding a time wave. And it can be a very special experience as we open ourselves up to what this really signifies in our life. I want to congratulate you, truly, for showing up with me, for both of us here showing up together in this way, this particular way, this very unique way. We have an opportunity here. Let's flow with that, see how it shapes up for us. Deep love to all of you. Stay tuned for the affirmations section of today's episode of 1320 Time Stream.